Diana Britton, executive editor at wealthmanagement.com. What's the latest on a major story you've been working on?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So I've been working on, it just came out with a story this week about veterans and, kind of in honor of Veterans Day, which was this week. And I was kind of looking at, just some of the financial struggles that veterans face and the need for financial advice and for financial planning among that community. And what I found was, this is a very uniquely vulnerable population. They really have a special need for services that financial advisors can provide. And, they're used to, the military kind of covering all of their expenses, like housing and food and healthcare. And then all of a sudden, when they return to civilian life, they have to do all of that themselves. And that can be a little bit of a steep learning curve for them. Some of the issues that they're facing, I guess just to give you like a little bit of background, the median enlisted base pay for new recruits right now is under $30,000 a year. And so, when you think about that, they're quite underserved, in terms of being able to afford like the typical setup of a CFP professional. And a lot of them, face underemployment. They're uh, it can be hard to find a civilian job when they come back, and a lot of the skills that they're learning in the military don't necessarily translate into a civilian job. Many of them do, and many of them are come back and live normal lives and are just fine. Most of them do actually, but I think just some of the struggles that they're facing. Veterans are 1.5 times more likely to die by suicide than non-veterans, and financial strain can really be a contributing factor to that. And like there's studies that show that, and we kind of outlined that in the story. But a quarter of service members who enter into a sort of suicidal crisis identify financial stressors within the first 24 hours, within the last 24 hours before that crisis. And so that leads to a lot of stress. And they're also can be more at risk for predation. And what I mean by that is like, if you look at some of the military bases, they're like surrounded by payday lenders and things like that, auto title lenders. And so, they're 4 times more likely to use payday loans and other not great products. And so they're a pretty good target for predation. And something that's happening right now is, um, you know, the the CFPB, they are really the organization that is trying to protect veterans from predation. And I think there was something like there like 42 enforcement actions that they've brought down on payday lenders and things like that, or companies that are targeting veterans. And so, but that organization is kind of facing cutbacks right now with the Trump administration, and I think they've cut back their staff. So, that organization is still around, but they're not getting as much as those protections as they should be getting. And then, if you also look at kind of the government shutdown, um, which is, it's been shut down for 42 days so far. The House is actually voting tonight on, I know this is going to probably air after tonight, so we'll know whether the government is open or not, but it's been going on for a long time. And so folks who are on active duty are not getting paid. And so, they'll get back pay once the government opens back up. But, they still have bills to pay, right? So, Um, we might see some delinquencies due to that. So, after 42 days of not getting paid, that's a problem for folks on active duty at least. Um, just some other things that veterans face, post-traumatic stress disorder, a lot of them come back with that. A lot of them have injuries, and that makes it obviously harder to work and get a job. So that can bring up financial stress as well. So, my story kind of highlights that there's an opportunity here. It's an underserved community. There are, some current issues that they're facing, and there's an opportunity here for financial planners to serve this community. And a lot of times it's through pro bono work because they are not in a position to be able to afford, again, the typical CFP professional setup. And so I kind of talked to the Foundation for Financial Planning about this because they've been serving the veteran and military families community for many, many years and trying to get those folks financial planning help. And they're actually having their 30th anniversary this year. And they have a strong commitment to that community. And so they're finding that they've helped thousands of military families and veterans. And they're finding that a lot of financial planners, um, they find that that's a really good way to give back to veterans and folks that have served this country. And so I highlight some of that in the story. And that's just a big story I've been working on.
It's a very important story. My father is a veteran. My brother-in-law is a veteran. Definitely, the points that you raise are something that is important for the wealth management community, for the military, for our country as a whole. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. Really appreciate it.